Looking to get the edge when betting on the ponies? Get access to all of SIG's reports now through the Belmont Stakes for only $169. You will get approximately 5 sheets per week for the next 15 weeks at $75 $9 reports. That comes out to a $675 value if purchased daily, saving you $506, and you'll have total access to SIG's horse racing selections through Derby prep season, the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont Stakes.
Happy Wednesday, guys. Welcome back here to WagerTalk TV for another episode of Puck Time. I'm your host, Andrew McInnis. Joining me, as usual, Carmine, Bianco, and today in his usual Thursday spot, we have Bryan, Leonard. I guess before we get into anything, guys, I got to make something very clear. We are 8-1 on the week with best bets. Unfortunately, that one was my play on the Flyers yesterday, so it's kind of nice when, it never really stood a chance. So, at least I never really had to worry, I guess, but those are kind of tough to see the best bet run lose like that. But I'll bring you in, Carm. Obviously, I didn't hold up my end of the bargain, but 8-1 on best bets is still pretty good.
Yeah, no, if you had taken them plus like 9.5, we were good. We'd be 9-0, but it's all good. Listen, the show best bets are doing fine. It's really good. And I'm glad that Bryan is here today because he's literally going to fill a lot of the space in the show as far as what we have to say about these 5 games. I will give a little bit of analysis, but not much on today's games, even though I did pick the 5 games. It was a good night for my wife in sports betting yesterday, Andrew. As you know, I think I posted the ticket. She watched the Puck Time episode. She took some of the plays, my Vegas first period, play -0.5 plus 110. She took the Kings, who I said would upset the St. Louis Blues, and they did. The Edmonton Oilers, who were a short dog, and we talked about them winning. And then she went with you and Prez on the over in the Winnipeg game, where I like the under. She says 2 guys overrule 1. And she hit a $100 parlay that returned just under $1,800. So she's happy. Amazon is happy. Jeff Bezos is happy. Everyone's happy, apparently. So with that said, let's bring on Bryan.
I saw everybody congratulating. Thank you, Mrs. Bianco. Great work, Mrs. Bianco. And you're just saying, yeah, more Amazon orders, more Amazon orders. Tell her to shop local, Carmine. Get some shop local going on, man. Bryan, before I do bring you in, man, you have a 5% play tonight. We do have to promote that. We do have to announce that. I believe the record is 6-1 all time at WagerTalk.
Yeah, I've had one earlier this year. Colorado wins by 2. Took an early lead, 3-0 lead, and it was never in doubt. Yeah, I've been very selective on my 5%. I always am, but especially in hockey. I've only had, this would be my 8th one in 4 years, so it doesn't happen very often. And yeah, unfortunately, I had Ottawa yesterday, loses in a shootout, and that's the way it's been going this week. Still on a nice run, but finding ways to lose in overtime and shootouts this week, but hopefully it'll turn around tonight. And I really like this play on tonight's card. It's the only game I've got tonight. But yeah, really excited to be back on the show and congratulate both of you. As you've both been doing very well. I know Press has been doing very well. And, for a while I held the #1 ranking. Now I'm down to 3. And it's not like I'm losing a lot. It's just that you guys are doing so well that we're all fighting it out. Everybody seems to be having a really good season.
You love to see it. You love to see the fact that all the hockey handicappers are doing well and on some great streaks right now. And I feel like you're going to have another great pick tonight, Bryan. So best of luck to you with your 5% play. The last one this season was a no sweater, and I have no doubt you will cash in tonight as well. I'm actually going to throw it right back to you, Bryan, for our opening face-off game here with the Islanders and the Flyers. Flyers plus 135 here. Islanders minus 160. They're at top of that division. Is there any angle that you look for when you're backing a team or looking to back a team off an unbelievable blowout loss like that? I mean, a lot of handicappers, Bryan, they like to use quotes. They like to use quotes out of the locker room. I could sit here and read off a bunch of quotes from Claude Giroux and all of their best players. When it comes down to it, those quotes aren't going to save what happened to that team yesterday.
Yeah, that was pretty ugly. And, I made plenty of money this year going against Philadelphia. They actually beat me the other day. I had them in a game, and and they win the game, I believe, in overtime. So, yeah, but it's a team in Philadelphia that is just not as good as what we all expected. And when you lose 9-0, I don't think we're going to get any more value by fading Philadelphia at this point, and that really hurts. I would have loved to see them win 9-0 so we could continue to take advantage of a team that's just not playing up to the personnel. Lost on the Islanders last time I played them, and they were playing very good ball. But Washington has been my nemesis lately. I know there's certain teams that have gotten under people's skin, but Washington's been one for me, which luckily I haven't gone against them much. But they've been surprised this year, playing really good ball. But the Islanders should get this victory here. The line's been bet up about 20, 30 cents since the overnight. A lot of people are looking to fade Philadelphia after that 9-0 loss. But these players have a lot of pride. They'll be coming back tonight as hard as ever. One thing I want to take a look at is possibly playing the over here. It's a situation where Philadelphia's defense isn't very good. I believe both goalies played last night, so nobody's rested there. And we get to see teams out there with less of a rest. And as we heard earlier in the season, when you had a professional hockey player on there, he talked about that. He said your last game of a road trip, your second of a back-to-back, the defenses really struggle. It wouldn't surprise me if we see another high-scoring game because Philadelphia's been involved in a lot of those. I just can't trust the Flyers to win outright, and the line will keep me off of the Islanders. So my better play here is probably on the over.
All right, over is the play for Bryan. Carm, I saw a stat, 16-5, last 21 games in favor of the Flyers when they allow 5 or more goals. I expected a bounce-back defensive performance yesterday. I couldn't get it. Do you think we get that tonight?
It's tough. When you lose 9-0, a lot's going to get said in that dressing room, but it's an embarrassing loss. But at the end of the day, as Bryan said, these guys are professionals. So whether you lose the game 1-0, you lose a 9-0. I understand it's the scoreline, but you didn't get the win. You have to put that behind you and come back. The Islanders, I'm surprised that while the total is 5.5 where it should be, I'm surprised that it's shaded to the under juice wise. I figured it would be the other way around, maybe 5.5 minus 120, minus 125 on the over. But this has to do more with the way the Islanders play defense than how the Flyers play offense. You look at the Flyers, they're 70.4% to the over their games this year. The Isles are 62.1% to the under. But a lot of that 62.1, this is why I'm kind of leaning to the over here, is fueled by the fact that they are 14-2 to the under on the road. The Islanders are. And so a good portion of their unders are coming are those road unders. And if you guys have been following, I've mentioned this both on Twitter and on Puck Time, these Islander away unders are almost automatics. If you see a 5.5, just take the Islanders under, and at 14-2, you're making money there. It's Carter Hart in net tonight. He came on in relief. He still allowed 4 goals on 16 shots. It's the whole home road splits for Carter Hart. I mentioned it at the beginning of the season. He's a much better goalie at home. 34, 15, and 5 at home. 2.39 goals against average. 0.923 save percentage. For some reason, when this guy hits the road, those numbers do not follow him. He's 13, 17, and 2 in his short career on the road. 3.52 goals against average, 0.883 save percentage. Those aren't very good numbers. And when facing the Islanders, his goals against average is 4.41. So while they might put in a better defensive effort tonight, I'm not really sure how good that effort's going to be. They can still score. I'm leaning to the over here. Over 5.5 is my play.
Carm, you've had some great goaltender stats recently, and you've mentioned Carter Hart, his home and away split quite a bit. I think it's unbelievable that the difference, like the clear difference. I know there would be an edge a little bit, Carm, but see that clear difference. We see it in baseball all the time with pitchers as well, home versus away stats for their ERA and all kinds of stuff like that. It's pretty cool to see the difference at home versus on the road. Our next game up here, guys, is set, of course, to be the best game of the night, viewership-wise at least. That's why it's called our marquee matchup of the night. Wild Current plus 135 dogs, Avalanche minus 160. Gut instinct here, Kyle. I'll let you take us over first, but gut instinct tells me we're getting some value here with the Wild.
Yeah, there is. I am going to get some hate in the chat from Terry, the ultimate Wilds fan, and I'm a Wild fan as well too. I've said this team is playing extremely well, but I did mention on the show, I think last week, I did the look ahead for Colorado, and I did say that this is a team that is on the verge of putting together a very good win streak. They're now at 4 games. They have a couple games left on this I think it was a 9-game a homestand. They've won their last 4. They scored 4 in that third period against Anaheim. They fell behind 4-2 and scored 6 straight goals in winning that one. We gave that one on our Twitter account at plus money, plus 205 when they fell behind 4-2. They now play the Wild. They're a bit of a revenge in this game. The Wild came in here before returning home and played 1 game in Colorado, beat them handily 6-2. And so it's a bit of a revenge spot, I have to believe. They have 2 games against the Wild, and then they head to Arizona for a couple of games before they meet the Vegas Golden Knights on March 25th. And I said, of those 8 games, it wouldn't surprise me if they won 7 of the 8 games heading to that showdown with Vegas. I'm going to stick to that. They're already 4 in, and I think they win at least 3 of these 4 games that they play against the Wild and Arizona. Minus 150 is about the ceiling on what I want to lay on this game. I thought minus 150, minus 160 was about the price that it should be. While they're playing extremely well, I get it, but they're now heading to the road. They're facing an Avs team that are getting some secondary scoring. And while it was Anaheim, it still was an impressive game that they won. So we'll see what they can do against a real team like the Wild, but for me, it's Colorado here.
And as far as the lineup goes, Bowen Byram should be back in tonight, and JT Compher should be back in. So secondary scoring continues, and the mobile defenseman, young mobile defenseman Bowen Byram looks to be back in the lineup tonight. Brian, I know you are a dog bettor. You like to look for these underdogs, so I feel like you'd be licking your chops to go bet this dog. But the Avalanche just scored 8 goals, man. For me, my play on this show is going to be the over 5.5 here. I feel like the Avalanche will pick up where they left off. They're feeling confident. The Wild play with pace. I think 5.5 is a cheap total here.
Yeah, my concern here, the Colorado opened 135. There was clearly value on Colorado at that number. Now I'm seeing anywhere from 150 to 160, so I don't think there's any value on Colorado here. As for the total, these are 2 of the best pound-to-killing teams in the league. I believe they're number 2 and 3. And if you take a look at expected goals, probably even better. So they've done a tremendous job. And because this is such an important game, you would think they would try to avoid the penalties, although you can try all you like, and you're still going to get them a lot of times. That is a concern on betting the over. Yeah, I'd like to play both these teams, but the line is really where it should be right now. Minnesota is a team that I'm looking to bet on as an underdog. Colorado is one of those teams that they seem to get the job done, but they haven't been impressive for the most part on the season. They played a lot of weaker teams, and they've taken leads on them on the other night that they were losing 4-2 really quick. And then you mentioned they come back and win that game, scoring eight goals. But it's a team that seems to lack focus in certain regards. I know that's not going to happen tonight when they get a Minnesota team who's playing really good hockey coming in. But I think the line's where it should be. I think the total's where it should be. So this will be one I'll probably be sitting out tonight.
I wanted to ask you, Brian, and obviously you can chime in as well, Carm, but with these divisions, I understand we've broken it down so many times how we're approaching this, and I've kind of said keeping it simple, stupid is the way to go, but I've said that scheduling is the way to go right now, and Carmine's a huge fan of that, looking ahead or looking back. But to what Carm said, Brian, about how Colorado just put up 8 goals, but it was against Anaheim, does that mean much to you? Because obviously they're nowhere near as elite as Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't think it matters a whole lot. I said early in the season I was going to look to fade some of these better teams when they play the weaker opposition. And, we saw it last night with the Knights. Great call on that live betting. I believe, what'd you get, plus 390 or something when they were down by 2? Sometimes teams just have that capacity of just falling asleep. And, they haven't lost to San Jose all season long. It's a big rivalry. And then once they got into the third period and they started fighting, well, the last thing you want if you're San Jose is to get the better team riled up. And that's exactly what happened with 2 fights yesterday, and Vegas comes out with that victory. So I look to fade some of those teams and take some of the ugly dogs when a good team is on a nice little roll and may take advantage of them. Because these are all professional players. We've seen it all. There's certain games where, your best teams, your Tampa Bay loses to a bad team like that. It's been a few of those games lately. Any team is capable of winning. It's not like sometimes in other sports where they're just outclassed. Hockey, we've talked about the puck luck in the past. That's why I like playing hockey, because you can find these spots and still make money on these bad teams.
Co-founder, great guy, Marco D'Angelo, he always uses the phrase fat and sassy. Was that applicable here, Carm, in this one with Colorado? I mean, it's just one big game, but.
Yeah, no, to your point earlier of, I always mention, and we're going to talk about that game next, the Hawks and Lightning, but when I say, okay, it was just Anaheim, I'm saying those are games that they really are expected to win. And then, yes, to Brian's point, you can find spots where it could be a flat spot for that that big favorite with when you're looking at their upcoming schedule, or if it's at the end of a long road trip and what have you. But when you look at these are the games they're supposed to win. But I want to see Colorado do this when they're playing Vegas. I want to see them do this when they're playing a team like Minnesota. Not so much. We haven't seen anything from St. Louis yet. They're sort of treading water. Are they going to get better? I don't know. But I need to see them beating these other teams, and they don't need to beat them 8-4. They just need to win games. I need to see them winning games to become completely convinced that the team has enough secondary scoring that's going to take them somewhere in the playoffs. If you rely on one line, you shut down that one line, you're not going very far. Definitely. And we've seen that with some of their games. So that's basically my point there, is not to disparage Anaheim. Anaheim played a fantastic first period in that game. It's just Colorado took it to them in that second and third period.
Keeping this train moving along here, the line change segment, the Chicago Blackhawks and the Tampa Bay Lightning. I would say, guys, two teams at different ends of my thought process, really. The Blackhawks, they've surprised me in a good way. Tampa Bay have surprised me in a bad way. Just their inability to play through 3 periods. And the reason why I brought up what I said just a few moments ago was that I really do feel like Tampa Bay has played down to competition on the season. I feel like this division is very, very top heavy, and they have been frustrated, and I feel like they've been, it's caught them in really bad spots, playing down to their opponents and not playing to the best of their ability for a full 60 minutes. Now you see a decent dog value here, Brian, plus 200 on the Blackhawks. I mean, they've certainly proven they can compete with everybody, but here, after that really disappointing win that Tampa Bay had, or loss against Nashville, and they lost 4-1. They come back and win the next night. I feel like they have to build some type of momentum because right now they're not playing consistent hockey.
No, not at all. And you look at their schedule for the month of March, they played the bottom units of this division: Dallas, Chicago, Detroit, Nashville, Dallas again last time out. You think, anything can happen in hockey, but you would think they'd be able to dominate these teams. They did take 2 out of 3 in Chicago. Chicago loses 1 game in overtime, and then Chicago wins in a shootout in another game. And then they did the third game of that series. They win 6-3. So that was probably, you take a look at their games for the entire month, that's probably the best game they had, that 6-3 win. They lose to Detroit. They had to go to overtime to beat Detroit. You're right. They've been playing down to the competition. But since they did play Chicago earlier in the month 3 times and know that they struggled with them overall, I think they should come out here and play with a little bit more attention to this game. But it's also their 3rd game in 4 days. That's always a concern here. I don't want to lay this type of number for a team that's a little bit tired, but I think Chicago probably played the best that they could have done earlier in the month at home. I think Chicago on the road is a little bit different. Leaning to Tampa, but the line is too high to keep me on it, so I'll be passing on this one also.
Karma, of course, I want your opinion on the side play as well, but the total here, over in 5 of the last 6 for the Blackhawks. I know you were a winner in the over with Blackhawks and the Panthers. Is there any play here as far as the total goes?
Yeah, I'm surprised yet again that the total is somewhat shaded to the under 6 here. With this one, if sidewise, I'm looking at Tampa Bay, likely a regulation type bet. You can get the regulation bet Tampa minus 150 if you don't want to lay, and that's probably about the ceiling on a regulation time bet that I'd want to lay. If you're looking at totals, Tampa 57.7% to the over. The Hawks 55%. The problem with the Hawks is, okay, we have Vasilevsky in net tonight. But if you look at, and it's likely going to be, I think it's, Lankinen in net? It's the amount of shots that the Hawks are allowing. And you look at Lankinen starts, 34 shots. Actually, I think it was even more than that. That's the amount of saves he had. 38 shots, 39 shots, 32 shots. Going back even further, 45 shots against Tampa in that 6-3 loss. 37, 48, just a ton of shots. You can't rely on your goalies to stand on their heads game in and game out. You got to give them some support, and they're not supporting them at all. They're 2-10 against the top 3 teams in this division. The Hawks did very well early on in the season, but as I said then, and I'll say now, they are at best the 4th best team in this division. You're seeing it right now. Tampa and Florida both with 42 points. Carolina with 41. Those are the teams that are going to finish in the top 3. Chicago's got to beat up on the other teams and then try and get a win here and there. Am I saying they can't win tonight? Or sure, they could win. They'd have to put on in one of their best efforts defensively in order to get there. You're not going to normally outscore Tampa in a high-scoring game. So with that said, I'm leaning to the over here and Tampa in regulation time.
And we want to make an announcement for a guest we were having on tomorrow, Carmine. We are having Andy Lang. He has been unbelievable with props on the season with NBA, and now he has taken over the prop market in the NHL. He is dominating, whether it's been points, goals, shot props. We are excited to have Andy on tomorrow, and I bring that up because there was one that stuck out to me, a trend that I have found, guys. It is Steven Stamkos over 2.5 shots on goal. These days, most books should offer you guys these kind of props. That is listed at minus 125. Stamkos over 2.5 shots on goal. Let's get into the dumper chase segment here, guys. The Panthers and the Predators, that central division, like I was talking about, it can be a little bit top heavy. You can see some of these guys in the bottom of the division just getting beat up on. But sometimes if you're at the top of the division, you might take that bottom feeder a bit lightly. The Predators had that good win, Carmine, against Tampa. How do they perform here against Florida?
Yeah, no, they did have a good win against them. And yes, I was the one. While I hate to want to pass on a game when I'm the one who put this game on our schedule. But listen, Florida's playing well in this game. I'm just surprised that the total, in all honesty, I'm surprised the total is 6.5 in this game. I've been leaning to the unders in these 6.5s, and I'm not even sure. I'm just going to quickly look at the VIG in this game, and I see actually the total has now gone to 6, which is probably where it should be. I don't want to lay that half a goal and take the over, but you have a Florida team that is scoring goals. You look at some of these games, and I get them. Those were, the Chicago games where they won 6-3 and 4-2. But you look through their score line and you see 5-4s and you see 4-2s and 4-2, 6-2, 5-4. Essentially, 8 of their last 10 games have gone 6 or more goals in those games. But I actually think the Nashville have played a little bit better defensively. It may not look like it, and when you're looking at Nashville games and some of their score lines, but I actually think they're playing a little bit better. I'm not a big fan of the whole 1-1A goalie tandems where you put in Saros, you put in Pecorine, and I say you got to stick to one guy and ride him out and see if you can get anything out of them. I'm going to lean if the if the total gets back to 6.5, I'm going to lean on the under here. That's the only play for me.
lean on the under for Carmine. Bryan, you look at this game here and you can say that this Florida team, it is almost normal for them to score at least 4 goals. I mean, it's hard to bet against a team that's scoring 4, 5, 6 goals a night, especially a team like the Predators. They'll have one good game one day. Next game, they'll lose by 3 or 4. How do you approach this? I mean, the expected goal stats can't really be in favor of the Preds.
No, they're not, but I think there may be a little bit of value on the dog here. These two played earlier in the month, the 4th and the 6th, and Florida wins 5-4 and 6-2. They won, I believe, 6 out of 7 now for Florida. I would think, speaking of fat and sassy, I think this is a Florida team right here. They've had the last 2 days off. You're facing a Nashville team who is playing their 6th of 8 straight games on the road. But they did have the last 2 days off. Take a look at what Nashville has done. And you mentioned you thought the defense was playing a little bit better. The numbers, final score numbers, aren't going to show it, but I believe they have played a little bit better defensively. But they played Carolina 3 times. They played Florida twice. They played Tampa Bay twice. They're not getting the wins, but they're in just about every one of these games. There's only been a couple games where they were just outclassed in those games. But you're playing the elite of this division. So I think the line's a little bit too high right now. It's a lean for me right now. I placed a bet on Nashville, but it's a team that I think is playing a little bit better, and they obviously won't be intimidated because of the teams that they've been playing, so they're not stepping up the ladder. And I think Florida may take this one a little bit for granted. I think we've got a shot in this one, maybe plus 1.5 goals. That might be something I would take a look at. But I want no part of Florida here. I just think this is a game that they could be overlooking in the long run.
I just love that saying, Bryan, the fat and sassy, because it's so true in every single sport that you can handicap. Just other humans like us, they're just feeling a little bit too good about themselves walking into that game. And sometimes the dog is live and the dog is barking. For those of you guys that like to bet team totals, team total over is 2.5 at plus 115 for the Predators, 3.5 minus 110 for the Florida Panthers. So maybe if you think that there's some dog value guys on Nashville and you don't want them to take that full risk on the money line, you can grab that little team total over 2.5 for plus 115. Still some great value on that as well. In Florida, they're great offensively, but they're still susceptible to allow some goals defensively as well. Our barn burner segment here, guys. The Jets versus the Oilers. Total is 6.5. I got to say, we saw a total go over last night between the Oilers and the Calgary Flames that, I don't know, Carm. I mean, I feel like it could have stayed under. I feel like that game was pretty competitive. We saw some just rapid goals. One team scored, then I believe there was a reply about 40 seconds later. I don't know. Both teams on the back-to-back. I'm not sure if that plays a factor for you, Carm. But I think if I'm the Jets, I'm coming into this game disappointed how late they allowed 2 goals in that third period against the Montreal Canadiens, because they played a pretty solid defensive effort until that point.
Yeah, we were on the Oilers yesterday. I thought they were obviously live there as a short, very small price. Power plays really clicking in that game for Edmonton. I think 3 power play goals. I think Calgary had 1, so 4 specialty team goals there. The good news is one of these 2 teams is going to be tied for top spot in the North at the end of this game because they're both on 38. Leafs don't play until Friday against the Flames. So one of these 2 teams.
Great news.
This would be one. Yeah, this would be a nice game where this turns into a 3-point game that goes to overtime and one of them wins it. And obviously you get a logjam at the top. As far as the game goes, I think we're going to see some goals. This Edmonton team is playing. I've said they're playing a lot better. Let's forget about those couple of games that they had against the Flames. That 4-3 loss. I thought that they looked good in that 4-3 loss, which is why I came back with them last night, and they won in that game in Vancouver. They probably, and we talked about that, Andrew. I think they deserve to win that game. You look at the ones before that, they beat up on the Ottawa Senators, but there have been goals in this series. I think they've played 4 games thus far this season, 4-3, 6-4, 6-5, and 3-2 last time out. I'm going to lean to the over here. I've looked at some of these games, and I've been leaning unders. I like goals in this game, so give me the over in this game.
Over for Carm and Brian. This is obviously our total standpoint, but feel free to chime in with a play on the side or any thoughts in that perspective. But 6.5 here, man. Where do you go, under or over?
Yeah, Carmine took the words out of my mouth. The problem was I originally looked at this without looking at the line, and I said, "Oh, this is going to be a high-scoring game." And then I looked at the line, saw 6.5, and I remember somebody named Andrew talks about these 6.5s in the fives, those kind of things. So I'll let you repeat it, but I believe we're not being very profitable by going over that 6.5.
We're not at all. At all. It's not even close right now. 6.5 is by far the most of a moneymaker towards the under. I'm going to run these stats over the weekend again in the model that I was kind of working on, Brian. But if you were looking at these 6.5s right now, I believe you're down quite a few units on the season. And the reason why mainly is because what we're seeing now is these teams protecting leads a lot more. I'm not sure if it's purposely. I'm not sure if it's every single team doing this, but it seems to me that if you are up 3-1, you are physically changing the way you play, unless your name is the New York Rangers, exactly, because the Rangers did not do that. But I'm seeing more and more right now with these divisions, Brian, the fact that they're getting the leads and they're sitting back, or they're playing more of a trap style of hockey. So that's what kind of makes me like the under here actually in this game, because I feel like whichever team gets ahead is going to want to play better defensively. I'm going to go back to you, Brian, for your best bet on the show, your power play. And, of course, go ahead and promote yourself, man. But honestly, your 5% play, 6-1, your last 7 lifetime NHL 5% plays. It's great. And best of luck to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been really great having another good hockey season. 5% play tonight. We won our only other one this year. 6-1, 7 plays over the last 4 years. This will be our 8th. Been tremendous on these big plays, and we really like this game tonight. I'm very surprised by the line in this game. So yeah, you can grab that right now. It's if it doesn't win, it comes with that 150% guarantee. You get that much back in your bank account over there at WagerTalk if it doesn't cash, but I'm pretty sure it will. But hey, it's hockey, it's sports, you never know. But we're rooting for the best here. Originally, I had the Boston-Buffalo game under. The game has been canceled now, I believe. Some COVID problems there. But I'm going to try to pick a nice underdog here. I'm going to take a look at the Pittsburgh game. I'm going to take a look at New Jersey. Pittsburgh's the team right now. You take a look at their schedule so far this month, and they've played basically nobody who's playing good ball right now. They start the month off playing 3 games against Philadelphia, 2 against the Rangers, 2 against Buffalo. They played Boston, who's struggling right now, and now they play New Jersey for 3, and then they play Buffalo again, and they don't really play a team that's done anything this month until they play the Islanders on the 27th and 29th. So just because they put up a really nice record, I believe it's 7-2, take a look at who they played, and we've learned that from Carmine. He's very good at this. New Jersey's not a good team. But anytime you can get a team playing at home at this price range, I've got to take a look at it. Right now, you can get 150 at certain places out there right now against the Pittsburgh team, who's been very inconsistent. Granted, Pittsburgh's defense and the goaltending's been much better as of late, but they are playing a bunch of teams that don't score very much. So I think Pittsburgh right now, if you're looking to play stocks, Pittsburgh's the team that I'm looking to sell based on who they've played. New Jersey, I'm not a big New Jersey fan, but I just think this line is too high. Open 190, money's brought it down, as low as 165 to 180 now. So the early money's been on New Jersey, and I agree. It's worth a shot to me. I like New Jersey here. It's the home underdog.
Nice dog play there from Brian. Good plus price. And I believe, Brian, you are not the only person on this show with a 5% play today, Carm.
Yeah, mine isn't in hockey. But if you're looking for a second NHL 5% play tonight, the Prez has one up as well. He didn't win his last one, but he's on I believe it's a 5-2 or 6-2 or 6-3, something like that NHL run with his 5% plays. But He's having a good run as well too. I love Bryan's play, so you've definitely got to grab that one. I have a Europa League soccer one up for today. I'm having just a phenomenal year in soccer, plus over 90% bankroll gain 2.5 months into the year already. And this is a 5% play that goes this afternoon in a 4:00 game, so you can grab that. As far as my show best bet, I talked about that Preds Panthers under 6. But while I do like the under 6.5, I am going with the over in the first period of that game, over 1.5 goals. I talked about yesterday's game where Vegas against the Sharks had the lead after all 4 games against the Sharks. Last night they did it again, 5-0. 3 of the 4 games between these two teams have gone over the total in the first period, and that's the way I'm going here. We'll get at least a couple goals in this first period, and eventually the game will probably stay under the total of 6.5. So over 1.5 Preds Panthers. That's my show best bet.
The 5% play for both these guys. Of course, Preds has his 5% play as well. My best bet on the show, my power play, is the over 5.5 Minnesota against Colorado. I like that price. I like that number, and I like the two teams right now. I understand both teams can play defensively, but I think when they come together, it's going to be a lot of goals and a lot of talent out there on the ice. My promo, just easy, simple, very easy for me. Let's start this March Madness on a great note, guys. I have a 2-pack up for tonight. Power plays are right there on the screen. I have the Wild Avalanche over 5.5, Carmine Preds Panthers over first period, and Bryan with the plus price underdog with the Devils plus 145. For Bryan, for Carm, I'm Andrew. Thank you guys so much for watching us right here on Puck Time.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.